Assalamu alaikum and very warm welcome everyone for joining me live today. Thank you for taking out your precious time to be here. Today I am not here to give answers. I am here to start a conversation about learning, about leadership and about purpose in education. So, let's reflect, question and grow together. Today, but before starting AI session with Sarabaji.com, I want to introduce myself. I am Iram Mushtaq. I am an educator and I am a co-facilitator and I am deeply passionate about transforming education beyond classrooms and borders. My long-term goal is to become a global educationist. The global educationist is someone who doesn't just teach content but shapes mindsets, values and lifelong learnings. So today I would like to share my journey, my question and my vision with you and I ask the question with sarabaji.com. So let me open the voice mode of sarabaji.com. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How about you? What's on your mind today?
Okay, I am fine. And as you know,
That's great to hear.
they-
Is there anything you'd like to chat about or any questions you have?
yes, as you know that we talk daily and our topic always remain there same. That is the my goal about to become a global educationist. So I prepared a list of questions to ask you or explore more about global education and how I become a global educationist. So are you ready for this session with me?
Absolutely. That's a really interesting goal. I'm ready to explore global education with you. What's the first question you have?
Okay. So one person is watching me live, and Abdul Rahman Rahim is saying Assalamu alaikum. So Walaikum Assalam Abdul Rahman Rahim. Thank you for watching me live on LinkedIn. And please be with us. We will talk a lot and very precious things about the global education. So I am moving toward my first question. That is, what does global education truly mean in a world with unequal access to learning?
Global education in a world with unequal access really focuses on promoting understanding and empathy across different cultures and perspectives. It's about equipping students with the skills and knowledge to navigate an interconnected world, even when learning opportunities aren't equal. Does that clarity help?
Yes, you are right that we really focuses on promoting understanding and empathy across different cultures and perspectives. You are right, and we should equip our students with the skills and the knowledge to navigate an interconnected world, even when learning opportunities doesn't or aren't equal. You are right. I'm moving toward my second question. That is, how can an educationist remain culturally sensitive while working globally? Very important question.
An educationist can remain culturally sensitive by actively listening to different perspectives, continuously learning about different cultures, and being mindful of their own biases. It's about seeking to understand before implementing any strategies. Does that give you some insight?
Okay, you are right that you said that an educationist should remain culturally sensitive by actively listening to different perspectives. Okay, and then continuously learning about different cultures. Okay, and then being mindful of their own biases. What do you mean by this? Being mindful of their own biases. Can you explain this point more to me with examples?
Being mindful of your own biases means thinking about your own background and how that might influence how you perceive things or expect people to behave. For example, you might assume that a student should participate verbally in class because that's how it's done in your culture. But in other cultures, quiet self study might be more valued. Being mindful means recognizing that assumption and not imposing it on everyone. Does that make more sense?
Yes, now yes, this point is more clear to me that being mindful of my own biases mean that I always think about on my own background and that influence of the perceived things or expect people to be behave. For example, if a student should participate verbally in class because that's how it done in his culture, and in other cultures quiet self-study might be more valuable. So being mindful means that recognizing that assumptions and not imposing it on everyone. You are right. Now this point is more clear to me. I am moving toward my next question, that is it possible to standardize education without losing local identity? Okay.
It's a
Lala Khan is watching us live and she is enjoying our session. Thank you very much, Lala Khan, for watching me live on Facebook and LinkedIn. And thank you for your appreciation, because when our viewers appreciate us, we become more energetic to create more valuable content like this. So, Sara Baji, give me answer of my question which I asked to you.
Regarding standardizing education without losing local identity, it's a careful balancing act. You can have broad, shared learning goals, but make sure to allow for local contexts and cultural relevance in how those goals are met in classrooms. This helps preserve local identity while providing shared global educational experiences. Does this make sense to you?
Okay, you said that standardized education without losing local identity can be possible with careful balancing act. For example, I have broader learning goals, but make sure to allow for local context and cultural relevance in how these or those goals are met in classroom. So this can help me to preserve local identity while providing shared global education experiences. Okay, can we explain it more with example in the classroom with the students or the culture so I can understand it more accurately?
Certainly. You could have a common curriculum framework for math, for example, but let local schools and teachers use local currency examples or real world problems from their community to teach the concepts. Or in history, you could have broad goals about understanding different historical events, but allow local teachers to focus on connecting those events to local history or figures. Does that provide a clearer picture?
Now I understand your answer more well, that if I am a math teacher, so I should focus on the local currency for solving the problems. And if I am a history teacher, so I should relate the global events with the local events or the stories to connect the people with the story or with the event to increase their learning. In this way I can achieve this. Okay, and now I understand your point. I'm moving toward my next question, that is, what skills should a global educationist develop beyond academic knowledge?
Beyond academic knowledge, a global educationist needs strong cultural awareness, excellent communication skills, and adaptability to different learning environments. Being reflective on your own practices is also very important. Does that help clarify the skills required?
Okay, you said that to become a global educationist, I should need a strong cultural awareness, and then excellent communication skill, and then adaptability of different learning environment. At the end, you said that being reflective on my own practices is very important. Can you explain this? What do you mean by being reflective on my own practices? What do you mean by this? Can you explain this phenomena with example for more clarification?
Being reflective on your own practices means taking the time to think back on how things went in your teaching. For example, after a lesson, you might ask yourself if the students engaged well or if there were any cultural misunderstandings that could have been avoided. It's about constantly thinking about how you can improve based on your experiences with different students and cultures. Does that help?
Yes, you're right. Now I understand your point that being reflective means and taking the time to think back on how things went in my teaching. For example, if I give a lesson, so I might ask to myself that if the students engaging well or if there is any cultural misunderstanding that could have been avoided. So, in this way, I will constantly think about my teaching style and my teaching, and in this way, I can improve. And this improvement based on my experiences with different students. Okay, and with different cultures. So you are right. Now I understand your point very well. So I'm moving toward my next question. That is, how can technology bridge educational gaps instead of widening them? Okay, the session was ended. I started again. Okay, are you listening me?
Yes, I am listening. What would you like to talk about today?
I am asking that how can technology bridge educational gaps instead of widening them?
That's a really important question. Technology can help in a few ways. It can provide access to a wider range of learning materials, and it can help personalize education for different students. Do you have any specific examples in mind?
Okay, you said that with the help of technology, who can access to wider range of learning materials, and it can help personalize education. Can you tell me more benefits of technology in education?
Sure. Technology can also make education more engaging through interactive tools and games. It can also make education more accessible to students with disabilities by providing adaptive technologies. Do you have any other questions about this?
Yes, I have a question. You said that with the help of technology, we can teach or provide the education to the students with the disabilities. Can you explain this more to me? How we can provide them education with adaptive technology? What do you mean by adaptive technology, and what do you mean? Can you tell me, explain it more for my clarity?
Adaptive technology includes things like screen readers for visually impaired students or text to speech software for those with learning disabilities. These tools help students access and participate in learning materials in a way that suits their needs. Does that make sense?
Yes, now I understand it more. Can you explain me what do you mean by screen readers for visually impaired students? Explain this.
Screen readers are software programs that can read digital text out loud. This helps visually impaired students access information on computers or tablets. Would you like to know more about any of these tools?
Okay, now I understand it. What do you mean by this? Okay, I am moving toward my last question, that is, what role does emotional intelligence play in global education leadership?
Emotional intelligence is very important in global education leadership. Leaders who understand and manage their own emotions and understand the emotions of others can build stronger relationships, make better decisions, and inspire others. Does that make sense?
Okay, you said that emotional intelligence is very important in global education leadership because leaders who understand and manage their own emotions and understand the emotions of the others, they can build strong leaderships and make better decisions and inspire others. Okay, now I understand the core importance of emotional intelligence. Thank you very much for your time, for your answers, and for your guidance, for your teaching. I am ending my live session. As we come to the end of this session, I invite you to think about one question to all my viewers, that if education shapes the future, what kind of future are we preparing for? So thank you for listening me, for reflecting and being part of this meaningful conversation. So let's continue learning, unlearning and growing, not just as educators but as global citizens. So stay connected, stay curious and stay kind. I will come again tomorrow with this session and we will learn a lot um, from this AI mode and from each another. I am open to the question. You can ask any question in the comment box. And if you enjoy this session, so you can share it and don't forget to like it. You can put the comment and share it with your friend because your support help me to create more valuable content like this. Till then, take care of yourself and thank you for being part of this journey. Allah Hafiz.